awakening is more than going to a weekend yoga retreat. If you're going to a yoga retreat and you had a blast, you haven't awakened. You had a blast. Awakening is usually excruciatingly painful. Usually when you do it, you know that you experience blockages, fear. Fear is probably the biggest thing. Change in your dogmatic view of the world. The possibility of losing your partner, losing your friend, losing everything that you know, because awakening means that you are reclaiming your truth. Reclaiming the truth means that you have to shed from cultural to educational to whatever kind of BS that have been attached to you and to your lineage from before, for God knows how long. So it usually has to do with immense fear that you're moving through. So the true awakening is playing yourself. That's all. Because your light is really, really unique. So when you try to be someone like a movie star or play anyone, you're not playing yourself. Playing yourself is the true awakening. Nothing to do with some type of a Zen or Buddha.
Hello, Dror Ashuah. Hello, my friend, and thank you for being with me on You're the Voice.
Thank you, Efrat.
I'm so humbled to have you. Thank you so much for joining me.
On my birthday, so this is my birthday.
On your birthday. It's so amazing that you took the time on your birthday. Thank you.
No, it's, I'm honored. Honored always to connect with you.
Are you 25 years old today?
33.
So, Dror, we've met a few months ago in Israel in the Healing Center, a place called the Healing Center, which is a place where young people who survived the massacre on October 7th came to find healing and find rescue, as well as some of their friends and families and other people in need went through this place in order to heal themselves or at least start a process of healing. And this episode is going to be a bit of an unusual episode that I haven't done much like it before. I'm going to divide it to two parts. The first part is a short conversation that we'll have here now. And the second part will take us back to the Healing Center where we met to show our audience the work that you have done there and the conversation we had there. Okay, so let's start with a quick intro for my audience that don't know you. So Dror Ashuah is an internationally recognized inspirational speaker, author, and founder of retreat centers in the US, in Mexico, and Italy. His book series, Conversation with Angels, is a collection of messages on spiritual awakening received by Dror from the angelic spiritual realm in preparation for this unprecedented time of global change. Dror has a master's degree from Harvard University in human development and psychology. His worldwide travels, combined with studies in mysticism, astrology, Reiki, crystals, and shamanism, have all contributed to his personal understanding of the messages about human consciousness. Dror relays a nonlinear worldview about the nature of life on Earth and our greater purpose in the universe, awakening to our divinity and understanding our spiritual role on this earthly journey. Wow, I love your introduction. I can just dive into this and talk for an hour about that. But, let's start with the evolution on consciousness. One of the things that I've mentioned here. Can you maybe explain on how you perceive reality? It says on your website, both on a physical dimension and a non-physical dimension.
Okay. The view is just my view of evolution and consciousness. I think that the word evolution can be a little misconstrued because those who are familiar with the Hermetic principles, Hermes, one of the Hermetic principles is called rhythm. And the rhythm means that everything has a circular movement, a cycle. like the pendulum moves in and out, and consciousness is the same. When you talk about Greece of the glory days, where art and science was in its peak development, and you look at Greece now, you're like, how does that work?
You're the Voice is brought to you by Trezor, the original Bitcoin hardware wallet company pioneering the development of self-custody for crypto assets since 2013, empowering individuals with an open-source device, enabling beginners and experts to easily and securely hold their coins. I find my Trezor super easy to use and recommend it to my friends and family. Enjoy my 5% discount on Trezor products by clicking the link in the show notes and using the code Efrat.
It's the same geography. There was an evolution of thousands of years, and Greece now is nothing of the glorious day. The same is with Italy, the same with Egypt. When you go to Egypt now and you look at how those Egyptians could have built the pyramid, it doesn't add up. Because it doesn't. Because the consciousness has to do with what you call absolute laws, universal laws, which Hermes talks about them. Hermes was basically the founder of those who believe in their cult, the founder of the wisdom that immigrated from Atlantis when it sank into Egypt, and it brought that knowledge into Egypt and then to Greece and then to the Mayan and to other cultures. So the law of rhythm speaks about the movement and the tidals and the waves of consciousness. We are in ways of breaking through some type of a spiral consciousness possibility that has to do with choice. So we have an opportunity. Evolution is not a must, it's a choice, because this school that we call the school on earth, this is a big universe. There's many different schools. There's many different life forms. There's many different availabilities for consciousness to reside on. This is just one of them, but this is a tough one. And there's two components. The most important one is that dark and light can coexist, has to be always. There always will be dark and light. It cannot just be light here. It's just not the story of this specific school. Second thing, it's all based on choices. Choices over taking any other rule that this existence in this particular school is concerned with. So now we have an opportunity, if we choose, to move into a consciousness that this planet has never known. But that consciousness doesn't mean that the whole planet will go into it. It could be what you call a split, where part of the consciousness is moving into a realm that is what you call heaven, or you can consider it as heaven, which means that it's in balance, in equilibrium, based on love, based on justice, and another one that lives in hell, which is suffering, injustice,
Victimhood.
unsustainable victimhood, and it's all within us, and it's all based on choice. And those two, once they split happened. There was a time of a choice, and that time of a choice has passed. So that split is going further and further and further. And some people within the same physical boundaries of this planet can be in heaven, and some can be in hell, and that's also a choice. There's always a choice. That's a beautiful thing. I mean, as some planet, there's no choice. If you let's say in a planet of fire, I'm just throwing it out there, with a molecule of blissful orgasmic energy, that's your experience. But here you have a choice. You can choose this or you can choose that. So evolution doesn't mean that we all eventually all souls develop, but it can take many reincarnations, and it doesn't mean that it's always moving forward. You can create a movement that is so anti-evolution that it will actually bring you back. So eventually all souls have that movement of spiraling higher. It's not a linear movement. It's a spiral movement that can also spiral downward. And some people has spiraling downward, and eventually they'll have an opportunity. This opportunity called in the spiritual realm, on the angelic realm, they call gates. You don't get those to pass to get these gates every lifetime, but when these gates are available to you and you move through them, a lot of times they're very, very difficult, and you have to give up sometime your job and your friends and everything that you know to align with those what you call truth, and the truth, and playing fully yourself. And that's basically your purpose. Your purpose is not to be anyone else. Each person in this physical realm has a gift, and that gift is very, very unique, and it will never be and never have been like you. So when you exercise your gift, that's the biggest gift that you can give this world.
Wow. Thank you for saying that and reminding
Mm,
me once again what this is all about.
yes,
Yes,
and
yes. Amen. Yes.
that's why I'm humbled and honored to be in this conversation with you. Mm.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure a lot of the things you're saying are going to click for many people. Some of them are more spiritual, so they probably have some experience in this world, and some of them are not spiritual at all. And so this may be new to them, but it may resonate because they'd be feeling that they've been experiencing some of this stuff lately, and they wouldn't know what to attribute it to and why it's happening. And why are you saying that this is a time, like a special time on Earth, that this is happening? Is it in the laws of physics that we know here on Earth? Is it like this specific time period that we are experiencing it in this years, months? What are we looking at? This
So,
transformation, this evolution?
I just want to
This is a
track
very
back.
earthy
Just
question.
yeah. I just want to track back just a little bit. Everyone is spiritual. There's no, in my world, there's no such thing as
Yes.
spiritual, not spiritual. And if you did Reiki 1 or Reiki 2, it doesn't make you more spiritual. Some of the most simple peasants that I've met in Italy or in the Mayan people that can barely speak any Spanish, they carry the most amazing connection to the heart, to the land, to the law of nature and honoring. And some people that have a beautiful way with vocabulary and amazingly charismatic, and supposedly know everything and read all the courses and did yoga and tantra and this and that. Violate many spiritual laws. For me, being a spiritual is not a knowing. It's a frequency. It's a frequency that you cannot lie your way out of it. It doesn't mean that you know more or know less. It's how you vibrate. That vibration, like the beehive, that vibration has a certain purity and a certain coherence. If you speak with both sides of your mouth, this is a Mayan saying, or there's a discrepancy between what your life, that the life that you represent and the life that you preach, which many do, from the
Yeah.
religious realms to the political realm to any other, then
Yeah.
your vibration is low.
Yeah.
And that within the spiritual spectrum does not make you a spiritual person, no matter what your knowledge and what your vocabulary speaks. So I was privy to speak at the UN once, and one of the most amazing spiritual leaders of the time from California spoke, and I almost purged. I felt sick to my stomach. And then a small Chinese woman that works, volunteering in some remote village, spoke, and she barely spoke English, and I was melting. So for me, the vibration of that person was what determined
Yeah.
the way I treated the world, and not
Yeah.
so. And has to do with the time. Yes, the time is a very specific time.
Okay.
There is something that's called the harmonic conversion that took place in 1987. There was a very, very particular constellation, star constellation, that opened a certain portal in the physical realm. That the portal took 25 years to 2012 to have that possibility of where the path that we were walking on, that was pretty predetermined in a way. From 2012, we had the choice, a true choice, to either move into the vibration of light and move into the vibration that is, let's say, dark is not bad. Dark is just lack of light. It's all on the spectrum.
Yeah.
That's why many powerful entities, being souls, came in the right age to play a part in this time. There's a lot of souls incarnating that they'll be able to express their voice and their
yes.
The contract is to speak out, and if
Yeah.
they don't speak out, they'll get sick or they won't be here.
Exactly. I know.
Yeah, literally. I'm talking about physically. The contract is that, because some souls, they don't need to be here every generation. They come for a specific mission, and that mission now is to help Earth move into a place where it's never been evolutionary. But it's a little esoteric, and it's not the common knowledge, but that's the knowledge that
I love it. And what I want to ask you is, on a physical level, I've been following the levels of light that are being measured by devices invented by a scientist called Schumann on the scale of
the
Schumann
Schumann
resonance.
resonance. Yeah, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I've been
Familiar with
following
it.
that, seeing the actual physical manifestation of how much light is being transmitted to Earth, and the frequency of that light that is growing
It's
immensely,
rising.
rising over the past few years, that have not happened before for the past 50 years or so since he invented it. The average frequency of light to Earth is 7.03 hertz, which is the humming sound of Earth, right? That's the resonance of Earth.
It's not only light, it's a resonance
It's
of
a
the
resonance.
planet. The Schumann resonance of the planet is rising. Yeah.
Yes. And so from 703, we've seen it rise to levels of 40, 50, and even 70 hertz lately. And I think, I mean, that is the only connection I have made so far that is a true visualization of the connection between the spiritual and the physical, that you can actually measure this spiritual awakening with a physical way. I'm sure there are many others. I mean, but this is one that is so easy to correlate. You know, you see the levels of light changing on Earth in the last few years, and you see everything that's happening around the world.
There's something that we forget as humans, that we are part of the earth of energy. Sometimes we think that there's earth and there's us.
Yes.
We are
separate.
We're separate. So we measure earth. We are earth.
Of course.
We are earth. So
our resonance is the same, right? We use
we cannot jump off Earth. We cannot just jump and be in the resonance of the moon. We are here. We are it. We are it. So think of it as like the awakening. Each soul that awakens, it's something in the soul, in the heart, clears to a point that it starts, that the heart resonance grows. Or begin to what you call a power of coherence is emanating from a soul. Now multiply it and multiply it and multiply it. The earth resonance moves not because of earth, because of humanity. We are the determined, or because we are part of earth. It's not that the earth increasing its energy and we're just seeing it. We are it.
Yeah.
So we are just measuring the possibility and the potential and what is actually happening. So there's a doom and gloom, there's wars, there's horrors, there is Russia and Ukraine, there's Israel and there's Gaza, there's conflict, and when one moves into Israel right now, that you can actually feel that, you can feel the heaviness, and you can
Yes.
feel the and a lot of time what happens in Israel is just a kind of like a pointer of what's going to happen worldwide. It's the what you call in Hebrew adva. It's like the first ripple
Yes.
that is just extend and extend and extend. So the war that is happening, or whatever is happening now, and the potential and the Schumann resonance shows that we are in the trajectory of incredible opportunity for humanity. And at the same time, what we see is the battle raging between dark and light, between information and misinformation, between manipulation and people that find a way to go around manipulation, people that talking the truth, and people that are trying to manipulate other people to become slaves. So there's a lot of moving parts, and you're part of it. You're part of that war, and that war is raging. And when you say war, it doesn't mean that you fight. It means that actually the inner peaceful movement and your vibration, and you enabling other people to have the choice. You're not forcing anyone to watch your channel. You're just opening that gate, and those who choose to, that's where they that's where something can change in their life. Literally, we feel that we are not what we're being told, like in sense of the doom and gloom. We are on a trajectory that is incredibly potent, and it's happening, and it's happening off the media, or let's say in alternative media, but not in the mainstream media.
Right. Okay. So another earthy question. I'm giving you all the the idiot's guide to awakening 101. All that, those type of questions. So how does one awaken?
Okay, that's a really good question. Awakening is more than going to a weekend yoga retreat. If you're going to a yoga retreat and you had a blast, you have an awaken. You had a blast.
Yeah.
And if you go meditation and you have a wonderful time, so I can tell you what awakening feels like. Awakening is usually excruciatingly painful. Usually when you do it, you know that you experience blockages, fear. Fear is probably the biggest thing, change in your dogmatic view of the world. The possibility of losing your partner, losing your friend, losing everything that you know, because awakening means that you are reclaiming your truth. Reclaiming the truth means that you have to shed from cultural to educational to whatever kind of BS that have been attached to you and to your lineage from before for God knows how long. So it usually has to do with immense fear that you're moving through, changing, making life changes decision.
Yes.
It's also good to learn techniques like meditation and yoga to balance your system, but that's not what awakens you. What awakens you is moving through gates of patterns that do not support you, that are not your truth. So the true awakening is playing yourself. That's all. It's all because your light is really unique. So when you try to be someone like a movie star, or or anyway, play anyone
Yeah.
that you're not playing yourself. Playing yourself is the true awakening. Nothing to do with some type of a Zen or Buddha or this or that. If you play yourself, and whenever you don't play yourself, you make a choice, even if it's based on fear, to go against sometimes family during COVID that didn't speak to other forms of family, that wouldn't, take the vaccine because they felt that it was wrong. Playing yourself fully, the more that you are closer to your inner truth, the more awakened you are. All the rest is all the rest is more kind of a noise. It's not about how much you know, how much you learn, nothing to do with it. Not how much you practice yoga, not much you practice meditation, but doing shamanic processes and all kind of different processes helps support. But the true test to the fact that you're awakening is that you move through fear.
Yes. And it's a journey. It's not a one-time
Yeah.
event.
And there's no, exactly, awakening is not a goal. It's not about reaching anywhere. It's a process. And the process, everything here that it has to do with spiritual growing, or whatever you call awakening, has to do, it becomes easier because the more you play yourself, and the more you actually learn to love yourself and accept yourself and move through shame and guilt and
Yes.
and manipulation and environment. The true war in this dimension right now is on attention. Everyone is trying to get your attention and to move your attention from self. So it's through phone, through media, through whatever it is to keep you busy, and occupy. So why? Because it's like a resource, it's energy, it's like fuel, it's like gas, it's like gasoline, whatever you want to call it. That energy is being harvested, basically harvested by
By the
powers,
darkness.
corporation, by darkness, in order to basically enslave your consciousness. It's not like a conspiracy, it's just the truth. It's always been like that. So our ability to control our attention and be able to move it inside, to be able to know what we need and to follow it and to get connected with the inner, because everything actually separating us from us, whatever you see and exposed to, actually meant to disconnect you from you. So the more you manage to connect to, the more power you have. So corporation or powers don't like people to be strong or powerful or self-thinking. It goes against money, it goes against interest. So when you actually disconnect and reconnect to your power, you're invincible. No one can play with you. No one can sell you BS. So the awakening has to do with that, with disconnection, with clearing, cleansing, moving through what you call peer pressure, because everyone buys into it. Like the fear of COVID, for example. I must admit that I did not vaccinate myself, and I was recommending everyone around me not to. And I feel that the pressure that was created by interest, that now we know was a BS, to vaccinating was basically a very, very powerful pressure.
Yeah.
And for people to say, I'm not going to do that, sometimes they have to pay price and lose their jobs and even lose friends and lose. So when you're awakened, you know it, because it's not a fun weekend. It's not about, it's tough. You move through blocks and you experience fear.
Yeah, and I always say that when it starts and you realize it, you sometimes think that life is over, but what really is over is the illusion of what you thought life is. That's probably what's ending, not life itself. Life is not ending. It never ends. It's an ongoing energy.
It never ends, and I think that the dying to what you know and the dying to your old self should become a habit, and it's actually
Yes.
become more enjoyable as time comes in. You let go, you let go, and part of it is dying. Dying is okay. Dying is really okay.
Well, people would think we're crazy when we're saying that. No, but I understand what you mean, because I've experienced it several times in the past few years where I felt like I literally have gone away. It's not me anymore. It's someone else. That's it. Now there's a new Efrat. Okay, but if anything, I felt like the new Efrat that's coming alive is the kid. is the one that started this journey and somehow got forgotten along the way. And now the one that have taken over, the one with the bad habits and with the need to please and with the indoctrination and with all that, that one is dead, and the one that's coming
It
alive is closer to the one that was born.
it needs to die because rebirth happen only when you die. So
Yeah.
you have to let go of something, and the process of dying is part of the processing of awakening. It's a must thing. It's not a physical death, but it's a death to what you know. And what is death? Death is the unknown. So when you let go of what you know and what you've been told, and move into that kind of a portal into what you don't know, that's his death. And that's why people are so afraid of it, because they don't know how it's going to make it. They don't know where the
Mm,
money is going to come from. They don't know who is going to be their friend. They're afraid to
yeah.
be, abandoned, lonely, poor, whatever. We build the built-in fear
Yeah.
is part of the blockages that prevents 90% of the people that's supposed to be awakened to move into that reality. And
No, no, go,
so
go.
so awakening is the most sacred, and basically the soul agreement is to remember why it came here and to play that part, not to play anyone else's part. You don't add anything, although you can be famous, rich, whatever. It doesn't matter, because when you leave this dimension, you don't take anything with you. So the only thing you take is that you played you added your light, your particular gift that you came to
Signature.
give, signature. And that signature is a soul signature that as a child you remember and you play it. And
Mm-hmm.
then everything else start coming into to take that away from you and coming back to it. And then it feels amazing.
Yeah.
Then and that's where your vibration, that's where the consciousness, that's where the awakening, that is the vibration that you emit, that people want to hug you, and
Yes.
people want to talk to you, and people love you even if they don't know you. They can pass by you, and all of a sudden they don't even know who they pass by. They have a smile on their face because they felt a certain woof of that energy. That it's true. You know who's sensitive to that energy? Dogs and little kids.
Babies.
They look at you.
Babies
They
and
can.
dogs. Yeah, they always, yeah, I find it. It happens to me
Yeah,
all the time. Sometimes cats
they
as
see
well.
it. As cats, yeah, animals see it.
Animals.
They there's just not as much of them going on the street, with people. But the that energy is palpable, is visceral, and kids that are very very young, they also feel it, and they look at you, and that's the truth, that's the
I
vibration that you
love
carry.
them. And you said before, you mentioned that the war we are experiencing now is actually a war on our consciousness. And the column that I write in the newspaper, in Bereshit newspaper, is called The Battle on Consciousness. And I try to show how different areas of our lives or industries are basically manipulating us to harvest our energy in different ways. And then I show it on, for example, on big pharma, and I show it on the climate change agenda, and I show it on the money agenda and the monetary system, and how it's designed to enslave us into a life of working for the system, and being in its service rather than the system servicing us. And so for me, all the different types of content or topics that I host on, whether it's my column or this podcast and guests like you and others, are for me are on the scale, that same spectrum or scale of topics that are all relevant to show how there is a battle on our consciousness, because it's not just one area that is rotten or corrupt, or have an unjust in it, and people are suffering. It's on almost every area on our lives now. And when you truly awaken, it's as if you cannot unsee anymore what you're now seeing. And so asking me to not talk about a certain topic or a certain area of life is like telling me, don't do what you're here to do anymore, right? I have to say those things. I have to show those things. If I'm wrong, I admit I'm wrong. I'm fine with taking back something I said which was not right. But I just have to touch things that resonate, that feel to me like they're out of balance. There is a level of manipulation there is a level of corruption. The goal behind them is to influence consciousness in a nefarious way. And my background of being a marketeer and being someone who has designed systems and campaigns to influence people's minds in order to drive them into action, mostly on a consumeristic level. And I'm taking those skills and adapting them to the world we live in right now and say, okay, where can I detect that there is an attempt to manipulate people's mind or influence people to do something or to go somewhere, to drive them to a place where the energy that will be taken from them will be not in their favor. It will be someone
So,
else's interest and they'll be used.
so you actually kind of like, in a way, an agent that learned the system and you use it against the system, which is amazing.
Yes,
And
I've always said that was always my gift, to come into very complex systems, learn how they operate, and then in a way maneuver them to my advantage so that I can,
sabotage them, which
well, not
is
sabotage, but just steer
in a
them.
beautiful way. Yeah, no,
Yeah, because I
it
am not
it's
violent,
needed.
so I do things in a graceful way, but just
But there's there's one component that is a common theme among most people, where they feel they have no choice. They feel that it's stronger than them.
Mhm.
And that is a misconception that is very, very important for your listener to understand, that even the strongest, most powerful system need the cooperation of
Yes,
its clients,
yes,
constituents. They
yes,
have to.
yes,
So once these constituents decide not to cooperate, it collapses.
yes,
It does not. It has always the option not to play the game. So that game, the ultimate goal of any awakening, is not to participate
hmm,
in the game that is designed for you to fail playing yourself and weaken you and enslave you. That is the final game plan. And the game plan is that nothing can force you against your will. And if enough people, it doesn't have to be even half, it can be just a small amount that create that change, that will create a ripple strong enough to change consciousness all around. Why?
yeah,
Because it's the law of the ripple. If that strong impact basically can allow the change to ripple, to change consciousness on earth to an extent that it will not be able to hold that system that is not sustainable, that is manipulative, and that is working against the people that are actually it's supposed to benefit. So we always have that power. That
yes,
is our choice.
mm,
Once we play the game, or in the Matrix movie, once you connect it to the system, then it feeds you your reality. But the disconnect from that machine means that you may feel the fear of death, or the fear that you're alone, or the fear that you have no support, but it's not the truth. It's just not the truth. It's just you have to disconnect to that source of information and find a different source, or inner source, that will basically sustain you. And that's work. That takes a lot of work, a lot of inner discipline, and a lot of moving through fear. And that's awakening.
yeah.
Unfortunately, it's not an easy path.
No, it's not an easy path, but I think it's the only worthy path. So in life, I want to tell you that I'm noticing more and more people that have started a process of awakening during COVID, and are very easily being drawn to what I call, if they've taken the red pill to start awakening, they've now taken the black pill route,
Wow.
and they are being drawn to fear, because what you said, as you said, it can be really hard to start seeing the truth and understanding things, and and experiencing yourself differently, and understanding that you have a choice and that you have to make changes in your life in order to be in resonance with your true self and your heart. And they don't, maybe they don't find the power or the courage to make those changes, or maybe they find it overwhelming, the stuff that they have to do, or the stuff that they see, the information that they see. And another bad thing, I think it's bad, that's happening, is that people are consuming too much of their energy in content that is scary, all kind of doom and gloom scenarios and things like that. It's just like naturally happening. And so I say, they've started the journey, they've taken the red pill, and then somewhere along the path they've taken the black pill, and they're you know
And then
they're
moving
they're
into the
into
rabbit
fear now.
hole,
They're now like, everything's
into,
going to
yeah,
collapse, nothing's going to work, people are not going to do
yeah, yeah, yeah,
anything, they haven't done
yeah.
anything until now, so why would anything change? And there's this pessimism and this giving up and all that stuff, and I look at it and I say, that's a choice.
That's not awakening. The awakening is two components that are really, really important. That uh, you cannot be awakened and a victim. It doesn't work.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm,
a lot
mm-hmm.
of people that subscribe to the conspiratorial, which I'm
Yes.
not saying is wrong or not wrong, I'm
No,
not
no.
judging it at
Yep,
all,
yep, yep.
but and hold the fact that they're a victim and there's powers that are so powerful that you have to be a victim. That is that narrative is not awakening.
Mm-hmm.
It's just another narrative.
Yep.
The second thing that has to be part of the awakening, that you take responsibility for your reality fully,
Yes.
fully, fully. Even if it's, people will say that is impossible, it wasn't up to me. Everything is up to you. Everything. What you see, what you experience. And that is a hard truth or truism to swallow. But if you subscribe to these, that you're not a victim and you are responsible for everything that your reality presents to you, from that comes a power that becomes invincible. Once
Yeah.
you take responsibility for your life, you can detach from things that do not serve you. You can detach from people, even if it's family, that do not serve you. You can detach from toxicity. You can detach from resources that try to tell you that the world is ending, even if they're seemingly on your side. They said,
Mm-hmm.
the powers, the family, whoever the money is trying to get you, and they digging 5G under your bathroom, whatever the story may be. Once you understand that you're responsible for your life fully, and that you're not a victim, from there, that's the beginning of awakening. That's true awakening. Not what you know. Not
I
that you
agree.
think that this and that is behind your back, trying to destroy you or whatever.
Look, my son, I don't even remember if I told you that, but my son, a week after the war, I sent him to his father in Australia. He's 14 years old, right? And I sent him there, and he had a great time. And his father put him in school for a month, just because schools here in Israel were not working at the time. And we didn't want his life to stop, and we didn't want him to experience everything that's happening here. And about a month after he moved there, after he went there, they both called me, him and his dad, and said that he wants to stay, that he wants to move to Australia. Yeah. And he's 14 years old. And I'm like, ooh, too early. This is my baby boy. This is not only my baby boy, this is like my only son. And this is like my only child. And the one that I have raised on my own since he was 1 year old when his father and I got divorced. And so I was living with this kid for 13 years on my own, raising him on my own. And And here
Wow.
he is telling me, Mom, I want to live with Dad. I don't want to live with you anymore. I want to stay in Australia. And I was shocked, not that I didn't know that that's going to happen at some point. We did talk about it in the past, but it was early, and we sent him to Australia just because of the war. We didn't anticipate this change. And this change came, life happens. And I was really grappling with that. It was very hard. And there was one thing that I promised myself, that I am not going to get into battle with his father. I'm not going to fight with him.
Good.
This is not going to
Mm.
be war. I'm going to find
Good.
a solution with him together. And so, unlike many times in the past, we had good conversations on the phone, but I still didn't manage to get my way, which was, let's bring him back home. So I said, fuck it. I'm packing my suitcase and I'm going to Australia. I'm going to speak with
I
him face
saw
to
it. I follow
face.
you on
Yeah. And I'm going to
Facebook.
see my son and da da da. And so I went there and I experienced time with him and with my son. And I went to the school that he's going to and I saw the environment. Not that I don't know this environment because I lived there for 6 years. So, this is a neighborhood that I know quite well in Melbourne. And very quickly, while I was there, I realized a few things. First of all, I realized this is awesome for him. This is a great change, and he's going to have an amazing experience. Even if it's going to be hard in the beginning, he's doing what I've done when I was 21. He's just doing it a few years earlier. He's trying to live in a different place. He's learning the language. He's getting new friends. He's starting fresh. And then number two, he's catching up with his dad for what he didn't have for 13 years. And he's growing up and he's a teenager and he needs his dad now. And he's getting stuff from him that I can't give him because,
Amazing.
I don't have what he's got. And
Well, he
and
doesn't
the
have
only
what you
thing
got.
that's in the way is me and my fears and my old conversations and everything. So I had to let go, and I
Wow.
had to, and
Wow.
that fear of you don't know what's going to happen, and you have to let go and surrender to life, and just I'll be fine somehow. I'm protected, I'm loved, I know I'm going to be fine. And I broke down to pieces and I reconnected in the
Wow.
following month. Yeah, and I came back here as a single mom again, no child with me. He's with his dad and he's there for 6 months now.
And you have way more free time
I have a lot more free time and I saw all the
to
good
do
things in this,
what you do.
to do what I
And
do and to help other
yeah,
people.
exactly. And you have your boy connecting with his masculine, which is a sacred process. And it's exactly in the age of, where it's the half of his, like moving into adulthood. He needs it. He needs that
Yep.
aspect. There's a lot of very, very sacred movement. Not easy at all.
Not easy at all. But I had to let this happen, because you said if you are taking full responsibility for everything that's happening in your life and you see yourself as the source of everything that's happening in your life, then I did this. I'm the one that chose, not in a bad way, just that's just reality. That's just what is. I'm the one that chose to go to Australia when I was 20. I'm the one that met his father. I'm the one that brought this baby. I'm the one that, decided to create life that will be international and have two citizenships and have a father in one continent and a mother in another. I created all this. What can I tell him? He's the one just walking the path that I created, and he's just doing it much faster and probably better than I did when I was 20. So I'm in the source of that. So I really could not. That's what helped me go through this so quickly, giving up the blame and the victimhood. I'm not a victim. I created this. It's fine. And it's for a reason. I am the way I am because of everything I have done in my life and all the experiences that I've accumulated. And my son is probably very similar to me and even better. And
It's
he's doing,
very,
yeah. And so,
is
I can
actually,
only bless him on that and
I
on
mean,
his
it's
choice
amazing
and his
that he
courage.
chose you the mother to to allow him that freedom. And it's how empowering it is to allow him to choose where he's going to live and how he's going to form his life. And I just want to say one thing about the tuning into and taking the black pill.
Yeah.
The black pill is sometimes as dangerous, if not more, than listening to the mainstream, whatever, and why. It's as manipulative from the perspective of fear, injecting and taking away your power, your inner power to choose. So it basically says there is this and that. I'm familiar with them. There is this and that families, and this the cabal, or this consortium or that consortium that is basically conspire to enslave you and to create an environment where you're not going to thrive, or you're going to be enslaved, or whatever. So I just want to say something from the angelic perspective. The angelic perspective is very, very clear. The universe conspire to awaken you and giving you the best possibility to grow and thrive. That's the universe. No human power can overtake that. Everything supports you. Everything in your reality actually is there and designed to give you the tools to thrive. So people will say, how come this one died and this one this? People will come with a lot of stories that are horrific, and I say, just listen to the tone. And those who will hear it will know what I'm speaking of. When you connect to a source, and after that source you feel drained, you feel fear, and you feel victim, disconnect from that source. That source is not there to awaken you. It does exactly the opposite. Lao Tzu has a kind of ahead of his time, kind of a phrase. He says, deal only with what's in front of you. So if there is something somewhere else, like most people that ingest the news day in and day in and day in and see everything horrible that happened in the world, that's basically like eating a really, really spoiled food. It goes into the system, it affects your cell, it affects your consciousness, it affects your view. So I'm not saying disconnect from everything, but I'm saying you have a choice what to connect, how to eat, who you see, what you accept, how do you interpret certain actions and certain movement in your life. Do you move against it? Do you fight it? Do you understand how it's supposed to serve you? A lot of the most amazing gifts are a result of pain, a result of injury, a lot of awakening, a result of illness, a lot of awakening, a result of loss. Why? Because when we're in a normal state, we are asleep, we're walking and we're going through our routine, and we don't have the opportunity. All of a sudden something happens and we stop and we really look at our lives. So a lot of times the thing that you consider the most tragic in your life actually could be the biggest gift in your life, giving you the opportunity and the gate to move through. And sometimes you don't have to wait for that to happen. You can just, by choice, make the move that awaken to who you are, to your light, to your truth. And that's why you came here.
Yep.
Simple.
Simple, huh?
Simple.
Life's simple.
Simple.
Life's simple, people. Stop
So
complicating
simple.
things.
Yeah, it's like
Wow.
it's all white noise, just a lot of white noise.
A lot of noise, yeah. And you got to be really centered in order to distinguish the noise from the actual energy and movement and sound of life.
This is our brain. This is what I'm holding, and that brain knows that brain is not easily manipulated as this brain. So
yes,
when you feel something supports it or something drains it, you feel it in your heart. So that's why so many people are blocked in their heart. So when that is blocked, they can't decipher what's good or what's bad. They're just lost. This need to be freed. The fourth chakra need to be open, and that's a work, and and remains open.
If the heart is the brain, then what's the gut?
Well, the gut is the interpreter. The gut has its own brain, and actually every cell in the body, and also the sexual centers. The sexual center is basically your engine. That's why this is the most tainted, manipulated, and corrupted chakra in the planet. Why? Because when these centers are open and free, you cannot be manipulated. It gives you enough power to control everything. So when you introduce from or whatever it is, or the whole repression, you name it, that is to hurt the second chakra, which is your engine. The engine is right between the heart, called the solar plex, or the feeling centers are right between your heart and your sexual centers. So when that energy move up and down, when this is open, you cannot be manipulated, because your heart tells you, and your engine gives you enough power to make the choices. The stomach, or the solar plex, or your gut, is what interpreted that energy. It gives you like an immediate pull, push. That's all you need to feel. It's binary. Whatever energy comes into you, you know that it's yes. Whatever energy pulls out of you, you know that it's a no. So you basically have that inner compass. So your body is the most sensitive, and that is being corrupted through food, through repressing. Why do you think soldiers, what makes the age of 18 to 21 makes soldiers so efficient? The sexual energy is being basically funneled into either violence, or you wouldn't do it when you're 50. That's when your potency is the most powerful. And it's being, and all armies channel that energy into why in I'm not saying which countries, but where religions repressed. When you repress sexuality, and you have to cover yourself, and you have to kind of close these chakras, you are a sheep. You have no access to your power. So when your power comes out, it becomes so tainted and so corrupted that it actually able to create horrendous acts, because it's a bottled up sexual energies that has been repressed, and you see that in those countries. So these are very, very wise mechanisms to make us enslaved and not connect to our power. And our choice is always to disconnect from those. That is our choice. And when enough people, collective mass, disconnect, it will change the whole equation. And that's what you are here to do. I know that you know that, but I'm just reaffirming that what you do, and spreading that vibration, that frequency, and that potential for humanity to unchain itself. If we are not cooperating, no system will survive. It needs a collaborating and cooperating subject.
Yes.
When enough people will say we are not part of that system will not survive. No system will survive.
Yes.
That's the end game. It's called the end game.
That's the best game ever.
Exactly right.
Dror, wow, this has been one of the most fascinating and important conversations I've ever had on this podcast. So I send you a huge hug for your birthday, and a huge thank you for your contribution to me and my listeners, but also to the world. Where can people follow you, and what do you want to share with them before we move to the next part of showing them your work and what you've done in the healing center?
Yeah, I have a website, the Beehives. I have a
Mm-hmm.
healing center,
Yep.
and I think my advice is that whenever you have something that really scares you, that really scares you, know that there's a gift there. Always look for the gift in that gate, and consider consider dying into that process. Because dying into the process is the only way to being reborn. You cannot reborn without dying. So not knowing is a power. Learn to not know and trust that the universe is actually conspiring to support you in every single way. When you move into your light, into your truth, when you off of it, you off the grid of the support. When you're in your light, everything will support you. So that's all.
That's all. That's amazing, sir. Thank you so much. Wow, really a pleasure. So I'm going to add links to your websites in the show notes. And if people want to join any of your retreats, they can contact you through the websites?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. I can personally recommend. I've done the one in Mexico and it was amazing. So I haven't done the other ones, but
it's a pleasure. It was a pleasure having you, and
happy
much love,
birthday.
and thank you. Thank you.
Go celebrate.
I will. Now I'll go.
So Dror has something very unique in the way that he's able to make natural healing accessible for people that don't come from that world and don't know much about natural medicine and natural healing. And so when I came here for the first time and saw you, it was like a coincidence, but it wasn't, because this is so natural that you'd be here and work with the people that are here healing people. So can you tell our viewers why you're here and a bit about your background?
I think that if you're serious about doing any healing work and work with trauma, and I have a few places to be in the world, there's no place I would rather be than here now. And
Why?
I think this is a calling. It feels more true to my essence and to the essence of the inner calling to be here, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. I feel like this is where I'm meant to be, and I had a full schedule like anyone else, and I cleared everything, and I'm here until I feel I'm no longer needed. I grew up in a kibbutz, and I served in the army, and I always feel like there was a part of me that was a stranger here, and this is the first time in my life ever that I feel fully at home.
Wow, in Israel.
In Israel, in one of the darkest times.
Yes.
I feel that the amount of light created is so vast, and the amount of people, goodness, charity, beauty that comes out of the ashes of this horrendous massacres, death, destruction, and has such a potential to change the life as we know it here in this country, and I think in the world eventually. I think this is just the first ripple, and I really would not want to be anywhere else.
And you don't live in Israel usually, you live in Mexico.
I have a few homes, but
a few other places around the world, in New York.
Mainly in New York.
And now you feel yourself being here. So what have you done since you came here to the healing space?
I work with trauma in my healing centers. I have 3 healing centers in Italy, New York, and in Mexico. And I felt that the field of trauma with grief was so strong that caretakers, the facilitators, were getting sick themselves. They, at some point, like a tuning fork that created sound, the energy was so heavy that it was like holding the tuning fork in your hand. It stopped vibrating. It doesn't make the sound anymore. So I work with caretakers, and we do process of cleansing and clearing before and after their work in order to enable them to do their work. Because at some point, if you don't clear the heavy field, even if you're the best healer in the world, that field of grief, sadness, and trauma gets stuck into your electromagnetic field.
Yes.
And it just basically becoming heavier and heavier and heavier until you're no longer, even if you say the same words, you do not transmit the same energy anymore, and you're useless. So I work with that, and I created an area where it's mainly for the facilitators to transmute the heavy energy for the facilitators and for this whole land. And it has to do with about million bees and a lot of other technology.
Hold on, million bees, right?
Million bees.
There are beehives
There's
here.
Million bees, crystals, copper geometry that looks like the Star of David. There's a singing tree, eucalyptus, that actually sing. It's basically the energy of the eucalyptus is translated into sound, and when you go in there, all you need to be there 11 minutes, and it clears your heavy energy and transmutes it. And this is a technology of nature. It's neutralize the cognitive cerebral activity, so you can't resist it. You just lie there, it clears you out.
Can you take me there later? I want to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's working now.
Good.
And it's a technology of nature. It's the only one in the world that created it for here. And what happened is that you think of 1 million bees flying out for a radius of about 2.5 miles and come back. So they fly, they collect bee pollen and nectar. So they come inside into that hexagon that is the healing center and out, in and out. So when they come in, they charge that area that is being designated as a facilitator's transmutation or alchemy area. And when they way out, they send vibration of love and unity, which that's bees. The whole idea is unity consciousness. Everyone in the beehive is for one.
Yes.
There's no ego, there's no fights on jobs. It's all unity consciousness. Everything that they do has to do with integration. So what happened that the beehives here is almost like the septic transmutation area for the whole land. The heaviness comes in survivors of the Nova massacres, and they leave the energy here. That center transmutes it. So it keeps it so that this place can continue to vibrate and be constantly cleansed, because otherwise it's like sewage that is overrun. If you have too much darkness and it's not being, it doesn't have a way to evacuate it, it will overflow and it will not be useful anymore. And that's what the Mayan do all the time. They clean, they clear. They kept the space pristine, so this will keep the place pristine for hundreds of people to go through the process.
So Dror, what are you seeing? You know, for me, speaking to you, knowing that you're here, hearing about the work that you're doing with, it's kind of originating, creating the very essence, the very source of the ripple effect of the healing, right? You're starting something and you're also clearing out, you know, the negative energies that are coming through here. But as the source of new regenerative healing energy, that you are one of its creators, where do you see this center going in terms of, you know, your bigger vision of taking us as humanity to a place where we can actually start looking at healing people in a different way? Because this is one project, right? And I know you always think big, and that you also care a lot about how can we make a change in the world in a way that will kind of educate people to appreciate the natural way of healing again.
I think that normally we think of allopathic medicine as the cure of all, and here something that Leah with her vision created, Dr. Leah No. So my feeling that everything that we do now, we have to reinvent ourselves, which means that we cannot repeat anything that we know as the easy solution. Everything has to be not knowing and being willing to listen and find different solutions, because we have to reinvent the wheel. And I think reinventing the wheel, for me, can ripple in my world, can ripple into the world, a new way of looking into trauma, a new way of resolving and creating peace and harmony that has to do with natural spaces and has to do with less medication or medicating, and has to do more with holistic and finding something that really touches our heart. And I don't know where it's going, but I think it's as exciting as it gets. And I think that I really wouldn't want to be anywhere else. And I'm curious to see where it's going. And I feel that what is being created here is historical in nature, and we need courage. We need people like you.
No,
we need people. You. No, we need people. I'm serious. We need people like you to be in the forefront of this and spread the word.
Yeah, we do need more people with courage. We just need people to rediscover their courage, because everyone has it. We just so we're surrendering to fear so much in our daily lives, and we need to exercise being courageous, because we all have it.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah,
that's a beautiful concept.
The only reason why I am perceived as courageous is because I don't surrender to my fear. I do have fear, but
courage.
I don't. Yeah,
that's the definition
exactly.
of courage. Yeah, we all experience fear, but
exactly. It's not like I don't have fear. I do, but I don't let it run me.
Yeah.
I take it with me, and I do it anyway. Yeah. So that's what we need, and we need people like you and Leah to run places like this and to bring that vision forward. So thank you so much for doing what you're doing, for being who you are, for people here and around the world. We're sitting here. For me, this is like an origin or a base of energy. Tell us what we're seeing here.
So this space is like entering the cell of the bee. It's hexagon. The cell of the bee is the most efficient cell in the planet in sense of spatial intelligence.
A geometric shape that is...
Yeah.
Okay.
And inside of it, it's embedding the Star of David. So hexagon is actually kind of like, it's within it. The Star of David is created from the angles, from the apex of the corners. So this is all based on geometry and the healing power of bees and the tree and the shape of the geometric shape or sacred geometry. There's a lot of components. So there is about 1 million bees participating, the eucalyptus tree. There is a copper cable underneath here that creates what you call a Merkaba, or a three-dimensional Star of David. There's 9 crystals. The crystals, the number 9 is the number of completion. So when you come in discombobulated or broken, and you come out complete. The crystals create as kind of an amplifier and a battery charger of the energy that is being created by the bees collecting nectars and bee pollen, bringing into the healing area. The music of the plants that actually invoke DMT, like almost like a medicine and ancestral medicine, which disconnects or neutralizes cerebral cognitive activity, which means that you don't deal with anxiety, you don't deal with the past or the futures, you're completely in the now. Even if you want to, you can't. It just creates that energy. The 1 million bees, actually, the electromagnetic frequency of 1 million bees is basically they're all about unity consciousness. So the hum or the energy is basically creates a bubble that reconnects parts that have been disconnected. So if the heart or the trauma creates a separation of the soul, of whatever the psychological breakage in the wholeness of our being, the energy of the bees that is around us brings it all together whether we want it or not. It clears it and neutralizes it. The eucalyptus, what it does, besides singing beautifully, actually this tone means clearing. The eucalyptus actually does the transmutation of dark, heavy, toxic energy into life-giving energy, which means it does it through CO2 into oxygen. It does it through use humus or fertilizer or rotten leaves or whatever into creating fertilizer and use it to growth. And it does it also energetically. What it does is it takes all these energies to through its trunk and deliver it to Gaia, deliver it into the earth, and it basically being transmuted into a life-giving. So this is actually taking the energy of the whole compound, because bees fly about 5 kilometers radius. So think about 1 million bees sending their love energy or their life-giving qualities all over the land, comes back here, recharges this, going back, recharging the land. That movement the whole day is basically what keeps the whole compound clear and cleansed and neutralized and transmuted. So you continue to do this work without overflowing, and this is mainly for caregivers, so they be able to continue to do their work. Yeah. All they need to be here is 11 minutes, and it's all based on 11. There's 22 hives. 22 is the number of Christ consciousness, which is love.
22 is? Because it's my number and I never knew why.
It's all love. It's pure love.
That's what 22 is.
22.
Okay,
It's a
now
master
I know
number.
why.
And 11, it's made out
I'm
of 11,
attracted
11.
to 22, okay.
11, 11 is the masculine and the feminine. So there's 11 hives, 11 hives. 11 is the master number that is illumination and enlightenment. So basically it creates, the 1 is rebirth, is a new beginning, and 11, 11, and the master number has to do with coming into the full potential of humans. So everything is geometrically based. It's 6 meters, it's all 6 meters by 6 meters, so it's all based on the hexagonal energy of moving into a bee, transmuting, and coming back clear. That's basically it.
Thank you so much for sharing this